So this time we're going to be taking a look at Vampire Princess Miyu, and it happens to be a supernatural horror OVA series of 4 episodes. It seems like I've been taking a look at quite a few different OVAs this year, but oddly enough, I was thinking about adding in the one that came out in the 90s, the one that happens to have 26 episodes, but I decided to change my mind and just do this one first. And at least I'd be able to watch everything in one day without having to take a whole bunch of breaks. So anyways, now let's take a look at the story. So the main character is a Japanese vampire girl named Miyu, and she also has a companion called Larva, which happens to be a shinma. In case you don't know what a shinma is, it's basically a demon. So Miyu's goal is supposed to hunt down all the other demons and return them to the original land called the Darkness. But however, since she is a vampire, she happens to drink a lot of blood, and of course she has to drink humans' blood. So there's a lot of murders going around that happen to be started by her. So there is one character that's always trying to pursue Miyu, and that happens to be a spiritualist named Himiko. Now this is the thing I do find kind of interesting with this series, is that at first it kind of makes it seem like that Himiko is supposed to be the main character and Miyu is supposed to be the main antagonist, but it's not really like that. Because at first they hate each other, but then eventually they start running into each other more and they end up actually having to work together, so they can take out some of the other shinmas, since all the other shinmas in this show are just wreaking havoc on way more humans. So yeah, that's pretty much the basic of what you need to know, and it does seem like a pretty simple plot, which it kinda is, but at the same time, I find that the lore is what really makes it unique. Because this is not the typical vampire stories that you normally hear all the time, because it really does have some really interesting interactions between a human and a vampire and even a demon. So for the time when this show first came out, this is actually pretty refreshing. However, I do have some small complaints here and there, but I'm going to explain that near the end of this video. But for now, let's start talking about the other things, like the animation. And the animation here is really good. So everything looks pretty dark and gritty, which really suits the show very well. And I actually really like that one place where it has like the forest with the red sky, and then it also has like the floating eyeballs everywhere. It's pretty creepy, but really badass at the same time. And some of the character designs are fairly nice looking, especially I really like the character designs for Miyu and Larva, and some of the other shinmas also do look pretty nice. Although some of the human characters are not too crazy looking, but you know, that's totally fine. But for the most part, I really don't have any complaints about the animation whatsoever. I still think it looks really good for the time. And now, as for the show's music, personally, I actually really loved it a lot. So, just like the animation, the music in the show really does suit the tone really well with its really dark and eeriness. But as for the non-atmospheric songs, they're actually pretty damn awesome. And honestly, I actually find that the music in this one is probably one of the best things about it for me personally. So I really don't have any complaints whatsoever right there. And as for the opening theme song, it doesn't really have a typical opening like you would suspect. It just has some light music in the background, which does sound really nice with some like voiceover work, and yeah, that's literally it. So not a whole lot that I can say, but it is simple and it does work fine. But the end credits still has some pretty good music, I will say that. So overall, music is definitely pretty top notch. And now, as for the voice acting, if you're watching this one in English, oh god damn is it fucking shitty. Okay, so to be real here, yes, it is pretty fucking shitty, but to say the least, one thing I will give some credit for is that the voice for Miyu is actually not too bad. I mean, it's not great, but it's definitely a lot better than every other person in this show. Because everyone else in this show just sounds so monotone and robotic and just lifeless, there's really nothing much to say here. But as boring sounding as it did, I will admit, there were some parts that did sound pretty fucking funny, but you know, that's just me liking like cheesy ass voice acting. But you know, with that said though, I still can't say anything good about it other than that Miyu's voice was actually tolerable, and even that is being generous. So if you are going to watch this one, I just suggest watching it in Japanese, since not only does it sound a lot better, but it also does kind of make more sense with it. But yes, the voice acting in English is easily the weakest part about this show. Unless you're watching in Japanese, then that's not really a problem. So now, let's start talking about the score, and if I were to rate this one, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. So here's my thing. Yes, I actually did really like this one because it was really intriguingly weird. And you know, the animation and the music was really awesome. And the overall concept was pretty unique and refreshing, which is always nice. But the reason why I'm giving this one a 7 mainly has to do with the fact that it is good, but I think it could have been way better. because I really do like the characters, and there is some pretty good development going on, but I wish they did explore a little bit more into Larva, since you only know like a little bit of how he became the way he was, and then like that's it. Also, the show's ending is pretty disappointing. And it's a shame too, because the last episode was actually the most interesting, because you actually get to learn more about Miyu when she was a human and her parents. So the reason why I say it's disappointing is because it kind of ends abruptly. Like, you get to know like the flashback, and then after that it's just big bam done, the end, that's it, no more. And it's funny, the first time I was watching this, I actually had to rewatch the last bit of it a couple times because I thought I missed something. But no, it just ends abruptly, which kinda sucks. But other than these things, I did really like this one for what it was. And would I recommend it? I don't know if I'd recommend it to everyone, but I would at least say that it is at least worth a watch considering it is very short. But I'd say the perfect time to be watching a show like this would be during Halloween, since the atmosphere and music suits that perfectly. So while I do really like this one, there are a couple of things that could have been way better, but for what we got, I was pretty happy with the overall outcome. But since this is an OVA of only 4 episodes, I am kinda curious to know what the one that came out in the 90s was like, considering that one has 26 episodes. Well, maybe we might take a look at that one either next year or the year after, who knows what I'm going to be doing, but either way though. I am looking forward to seeing how that one turns out, considering that there is a lot of things in this one that I really do like quite a bit, so I am hoping it would be an improvement over it, although you never know, sometimes it could be shitty, but either way, I'm not going to give up my opinion on it because obviously I can't, I haven't even seen it yet, but I'm just hoping that it is going to be a really, really good one. So, that being said, Vampire Princess Miyu is a pretty intriguing, weird anime that I actually do like quite a bit, and it is also pretty underrated, but I wouldn't say it's super amazing, but it is pretty underrated enough that I don't hear enough people talk about it, and I definitely do think this would be a good one to watch throughout October.